My husband Joel and I had bought our house and lived there for 20 years and loved it. When he went in for surgery, he was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer and he died 3 weeks later. It turned out that the Christmas tree farm that we lived across from actually was a dump site from Wolverine Worldwide, and it had contaminated all of our drinking water with PFAS at extraordinary levels. And it became really clear that we needed to be hooked up to municipal water. But being a small community, like every small community in Michigan, we had no way to do that. So I finally decided on a lark to see if I could sit down with Attorney General Dana Nessel. She listened to our stories and she vowed to help us. We need somebody who will fight for the citizens of our state, and she is definitely the person who's willing to do that.
For us, Dana Nessel was the last piece of the puzzle. The residents and parents in Northville, Michigan had been kind of fighting against Arbor Hills Waste Management. We wanted to make sure our air and our water was safe. We finally got it so that we were going to get some air quality monitors at our school, but nobody wanted to pay for them. And when Dana found out, she said, well, that is not right. She was there with us. She's still there with us, making sure our kids are safe when they're at school. And the waste management company had to pay for it.
We have fought against different environmental activities for clean water, clean air. People, since Dana's been involved and she won the lawsuit, are sending me pictures catching perch, 18 to 20 inch brown trout in that Johnson Creek now because she's cleaned it up.
I want to send a huge shout out and thank you to Attorney General Dana Nessel for being the people's attorney. Last year, I was the victim of identity theft, and because of your efforts, we'll get a resolution. We have an Attorney General that will take care of you.
I was Dana Nessel's first exoneree. Back in 1988, I was convicted of murder and sentenced to life without parole. I spent 32 years in prison, but thanks to the efforts of Dana Nessel, they reviewed my case and found out that I was wrongfully convicted. I have a new shot at life thanks to Dana Nessel and her conviction integrity unit. I've never been a politician, but I stand behind anything Dana Nessel does because the right thing doesn't have a political party, and she was all about doing the right thing.
Through the work that the Attorney General's office has done with Bear, Michigan, we have been able to secure over 30 capital cases with a 100% conviction rate. It has changed the dynamic on how trans women of color even show up to report crimes. Dana Nessel has not only made it safe for all of Michiganders in the LGBTQ community, but specifically trans women of color. And I am so proud to endorse Dana Nessel.
I live in Newaygo County, United States Army veteran. 4 years ago, Dana Nessel was the first candidate I ever donated to. I liked her platform. It was for everybody. Last 4 years, she's proven that time and again. So Dana Nessel has my full support again in 2022.
I've worked with Dana Nessel to get more funding for law enforcement across the state, including here at the Genesee County Sheriff's Office. For almost 30 years, I've seen a lot here in Flint, and that's why I support people who support the police, like Dana Nessel.
Opioid use is an issue that's provided an impact all across our state in urban, suburban, and rural areas. Unfortunately, a lot of places in Michigan, these evidence-based treatments aren't as accessible as they should be, especially in the northern parts of our state. So I'm supportive of Dana Nessel because she's directed much needed funding towards this issue. Michigan will be the recipient of $776 million over the next 18 years.
We've seen that giving out our supplies and our mobile units going to more rural areas, we're able to expand and provide people who may not have access to our services under normal circumstances, which is, at the end of the day, saving lives. I would just like to thank Dana Nessel and the Whitmer administration. Thanks to them, these opioid settlement dollars will be able to continue to do that. Dana Nessel has our support.
Before my dad died in 2016, I never really understood the concept of family estrangement. But now I can see why this is an issue, because it's something that we've experienced together as siblings.
It's so important. You never really realize you want the person to have the best life they can have,
right,
but you don't think about the fact that there aren't a lot of protections in place to make sure that happens.
Right. And that's what I think with Attorney General Nessel's initiatives. I see that she's working with Adult Protective Services and financial institutions to safeguard these vulnerable adults like my mother. Her authentic and genuine concern for this issue across the state of Michigan, I'm sure that we will see changes that really need to happen.
Over the years, we've seen a few attorney generals that have come through our office that have really made our lives more difficult, restricting the laws, restricting the program, just to be able to sleep easier at night now, knowing that we're no longer having raids that are occurring over cannabis in Michigan. It's a real blessing to have somebody that stands behind the laws, respects the laws, and respects the will of the people.
I'm incredibly grateful to Attorney General Dana Nessel for the work she did to defend the Affordable Care Act, and specifically the provision that allows young people to remain on their parents' insurance. Attorney General Dana Nessel did so much work to prevent a problem from occurring that could have been very, very difficult to contend with, but instead has never inhibited my life at all.
I want to thank Attorney General Dana Nessel for all her work to protect women's reproductive rights, reproductive choice, reproductive freedoms. And I want to thank her for working hard to protect healthcare providers. Right now, we can be faced with steep fines, penalties, prosecution, jail time. We could lose our licensure. We could lose our livelihoods simply for doing what we're trained and licensed to do. So I just want to thank Attorney General Dana Nessel for doing all that she is to protect women.
In 2016, I bought a used 2014 Ford Focus. It seemed to have something wrong with it. And I was like, I can't believe I cannot get through this process. Now it's been months. And my friend says, I just saw Dana Nessel on TV. Her office is going to pursue these claims. So no sooner do I do this, I just go through the portal, put in all my information. I mean, it was like having my own personal attorney. They did have to replace my car. The world isn't designed for little people like me to win against a corporation, even when the law is on my side. But I did it, and I did it because of Dana Nessel's office. You know, Dana has a reputation for being tough, and she is, and people know it. And they got me a car. It's a good story.
My identity was lost. Stress is an understatement, and it was very embarrassing to say the least, but thank goodness to Dana, who got somebody who was wonderful and spoke to us and walked us through everything we had to do. Because we're elderly, he's 85, I'm 81, and they assume that we're not able to do anything. That's the assumption, but we do.
You called the office and there was somebody to answer the phone, and it was somebody that knew something. So we were able to minimize the problem and what avenues to take in the future to avoid getting scammed as much again.
Because of the Attorney General's office, we did not lose our life savings. Thank goodness for Dana's office. We are Sandy and Marty Nessel, Dana's parents. We're a little prejudiced.
Obviously, Dana was very quick on her feet and had a great command of language.
She never hesitated to say anything she felt.
And so she stood out.
She always took care of people. She always showed her heart. We were always proud of her. She always succeeded in anything she did. I mean, she's somebody to be proud of all her life.